Dr. Paul Arciero is a leading international nutrition and applied physiology scientist, keynote speaker, consultant, and Amazon #1 selling best author with his book, The Protein Pacing Diet. He has served as a performance physiology and nutrition expert for some of the nation's most elite, including Green Berets, Olympic medalists, and world-class professional athletes. He has been inducted as a fellow to three leading health organizations in the world: College of Sports Medicine, Obesity Society, and the International Society of Sport Nutrition. He is also on the International Protein Board. Dr. Arciero has been granted a $2.4 million grant by the National Institute of Health to do research on brain neuroplasticity, which is the ability of neural networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization. So obviously, you're a very smart man. I am so pleased to have Dr. Arciero join me today with his more than 35 years of scientific research into diet, nutrition, and exercise. It is important to note that Dr. Arciero is not being paid for this interview, and he has no financial interest in any diet, company, or product which he has analyzed in his studies. Now, today's topic is a controversial one. We're here to specifically discuss debunking the calories in, calories out myth of weight loss. A lot of people hold very fast to this very simplistic way of thinking in order to try to gain control of their health, but this method often fails and can even lead to worse future results. Shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
Can you give us a quick history in regards to the health myth, calories in, calories out? What does it mean, and how did this theory originate?
Yeah, so that's a great starting point. So the calories in, calories out myth is really based on the energy balance equation. And the energy balance equation has been taught historically, I'm sure, since the beginning of humankind, especially in all different types of environments and healthcare. But what it basically means is that we're always looking for a zero-sum game of the number of calories that we're consuming through food, through drink, versus the number of calories that we are expending. And there's really four main ways that we expend energy. One is through what we call our resting metabolism. So the amount of calories that we burn when we're doing what you and I are doing right now. We're sitting here having a conversation. Maybe we're sitting around, binging on YouTube or Netflix. Anything that you're doing and you're just kind of relaxing. It also includes the time that we spend sleeping. That's our resting metabolism. So that's the first way. The second way is the calories that we burn after we consume food. I know everyone thinks that normally when you eat food, it's a process of just gaining weight, but we actually expend some calories when we eat. And certain foods have higher caloric value than others in terms of the burn that we get from those from eating. So that's the second way. Third way is something that we call the thermic effect of activity. So that would be any time that we're engaged in any form of human movement. It can be any type of exercise, gardening, doing the dishes, vacuuming, taking the stairs. Any time that you're moving your body, that's a form of burning calories through movement or activity, we call it. And then the fourth one, Regina, is something that we call the thermic effect of non-exercise activity. So that would be things that we do when we fidget. Maybe we stand a little bit spontaneously, people that are fit sleepers. So though it's a little bit more complex than just eating, we know that when we eat food versus when we're expending calories through those four means that I just said, what we've always been taught is that as long as you're accounting for those two things, you can help somebody solve the mystery of weight gain, weight loss, and health just by simply adding and subtracting those calories. But the truth of the matter is that we are humans that live in an open circuit. And so it doesn't work. And so we'll, I think, dive into that more, but that's essentially where it all came from.
Yeah, I know with me, I'd eat like 500 calories a day and like run after little kids for 16 hours a day, and nothing about my body composition would change for the better. I still had weight held on my body in interesting ways. And before I did this whole deep dive into physiology and understanding what was wrong with me, I was introduced to the calories in, calories out thing. And I'm like, well, obviously, I don't know what's weird about my body, but this is not working. Why isn't this working if this is something that people hold to so fast. And one of the things I've encountered is people arguing with me like this theory is as old as time. And I'm like, okay, well, it's pretty anti-scientific to believe that science cannot evolve, that we can't find new things. You know what I mean? And obviously, it does work for some people. That's my next question. It does work for some people, and some people swear by it. For those who would swear by the calories in, calories out, saying that they've successfully lost weight, what would you say occurred in their body for their method to work for them?
Yeah. So there's no doubt calories in, calories out works for managing weight. It does for, like you said, a lot of people, in fact, the majority of the population. What's unfortunate about adhering to that dogma, and it is dogma, as you said, it's antiquated, it's outdated, it's not healthy to look at it as a zero-sum game of calories in, calories out, because what you're doing is you're discounting the quality of each of those two components. So as I described before, the four ways that we burn calories: through resting, through activity, through eating, and then what we call this non-exercise activity thermogenesis of burning calories spontaneously. Um, and what we do in terms of our food intake, it doesn't address the quality of each of those two components.
Yeah.
And that's where the missed target is. And that's where we're falling way short. So the reason why it works, as you just described, is some people for a period of time, when they follow that um, calories in, calories out mindset, they can reduce their calories enough below what they're expending, and that can help them manage their overall body weight. But that's such a small, I mean, really minuscule component of our overall health, our body weight. What is so much more impactful and health promoting is the quality of our body composition. And that's what you're missing when you're following calories in, calories out. So, yeah, I think people will dig their feet in. They'll get very passionate. They'll get very emotional that they have succeeded following that calories in, calories out. However, where they are missing the bullseye of the target of optimal health is that the composition of their body is what is suffering, and their overall health, their long-term longevity and health span is not improving. We know that. There's a lot of media attention right now around the huge failure that The Biggest Loser was, and I'm talking
Yes.
about the TV show. So
I've been
that
watching
was
that.
that was based entirely, I mean, 100% on the calories in, calories out model. So if anybody has an issue with saying that, oh my gosh, the calories in, calories out definitely works, it's been around since the history of humans, just point them toward The Biggest Loser, and you'll see that those
Yeah.
people were massively yeah, sent down a path of real harm,
Yeah.
physical harm.
And a lot of them have gained a lot of the weight back too, because I've been watching the documentary everybody's
Yeah,
been watching.
yeah.
Um, when would you say that the calories in, calories out protocol started to be questioned?
Yeah, I think it really started to be questioned over the course of the last 50 years, because since 1970, when the Food Guide Pyramid came out, that was built, literally, the pyramid was built
Yeah.
on lobbyists,
Hmm.
and it was politicized, and it was unfortunate because it did just a massive disservice. But it was really predicated on that calories in, calories out model, because what they had to build the pyramid was using only a calories in, calories out mindset. And so as the last 50 years have transpired, we've seen that health has not improved
Yeah.
with people being educated, recommended and supported following that premise. Just the opposite has happened. So that's where it began to be questioned. And I would say it was probably the late 1980s that scientists like myself, that's when I started, were publishing human clinical trial peer-reviewed studies
Hmm.
on this topic, showing very clearly that when you matched people for the calories in versus calories out versus those that were doing it differently by following a much more higher quality form of nourishment and sometimes even eating more calories,
Yeah.
they were having much more favorable health improvement and body composition improvement. So that's when things started to change. And now the tide, from a scientific standpoint, is completely reversed. We know that calories in, calories out is not the primary way to
Mhm.
help support somebody's health.
And yet they still, on The Biggest Loser, were really clinging to that protocol. So it's been like it's taken a lot of time to kind of debunk it and get the word out more, you
It
know?
has. Yeah, unfortunately, some of these things are really hard to change because there's so much invested by so many people's careers.
Hmm.
And as a scientist, it's really hard to kind of pose these questions because there are so many forces working against you when you start
Yeah.
to reveal what's really underneath and show that these things are not necessarily accurate and truthful.
Hmm.
Um, in the way that they are. And so I think there's just so much built into our societal norms around calories in, calories out that it's really hard to change that dogma. And as I said, many people's careers are built on the calories in, calories out model. And so it's really hard for them to accept that and
Yeah.
change.
Like very well-meaning people have kind of been coming through for my throat because I'm a nobody.
Oh, I
And
wouldn't
here
say that.
I definitely am, and I've discovered so much that has changed my body composition. I've been studying for 2.5 years, and I've finally discovered a protocol that actually helps me. Actually, earlier today, I made a video about how what matters insofar as what you put in your body is nutrition, so much so that I've been pounding focaccia bread. And yet I still look better than I did months ago when I was eating perfectly. You know what I mean? But for the benefit of those people, very good, well-meaning people who have helped other people with their mindset of calories in, calories out. Where can people access the studies for themselves since we want to encourage people to be as informed as possible?
Yeah, that's always a good point. It's not for everybody, the science, but I've written the book, as you mentioned, the protein pacing diet, and then the follow-up, which I would recommend people maybe even purchase first, the Prize Life, Prise, Life. It's the overarching holistic lifestyle that includes all of the science, and it's the latest one. But they can go to PubMed. PubMed um, is the Library of Congress, where we hold all of our scientific peer-reviewed published research papers. And so if you look on PubMed and put in my name, you'll see many of my publications that have completely debunked with human clinical trial data to show
Hmm.
very, very clearly. And I'm not the only one, there's many others, but if they obtained some of my research, there would be references in that study that I published, in those studies that I published, that also support this, that it's not about counting calories. It's about the quality, as you said, of what matters most to impacting our health. So that would be a good starting point. I think the book, The
Hmm.
Prize Life, and then the Library of Congress, PubMed, Publication Medicus, would be a place.
Awesome. Thank you. What would you say would be the best, you've written books about it. What would you say for the sake of this video would be the best alternative to people restoring their health, their weight,
Yeah.
build muscle instead of calories in, calories out?
Yeah, very simply, protein pacing would be one, just making sure that you're obtaining the highest quality protein that you can obtain.
Mhm.
And there's lots of different forms of that. We know that grass-fed, undenatured, organic is the starting point. We
Mhm.
know that whey protein happens to hold the greatest um, proportion of amino acids that fuel our body. So that would be a really healthy starting point. But clearly, the highest quality protein that we can obtain. And that's a really good, right there, message to start with, and first line defense for changing people's health, because the protein quality is going to drastically change our body composition, which then ends up trickling down to all of the other components of our body. It helps with our gut microbiome. It helps with our immune system. It obviously helps with our metabolism. It helps with our brain health. So there's so many downstream effects from improving the quality of the essential amino acids that we are consuming. Um, so that would be one change, the protein pacing, and I talk a lot about that in my books. And then nutritional fasting is, we know the benefits of that. I know there's a lot of talk about time-restricted eating, but that
Mhm.
hasn't played out as well as many hope it does in
Mhm.
terms of the health benefits when it's compared to something like nutritional fasting that you do in a shorter window of time as opposed to every day. Which is what time restricted feeding does. So time restricted eating, just to really quickly, it's about eating within a window. They
Mhm.
usually do a 16-8 window where you're not eating for 16 hours and then eating for 8 hours. That has not proven to be as health promoting as people doing more of an extended nutritional fast,
Mhm.
intermittently, not every week. Sometimes once or twice a month, sometimes once every 3 or 4 months. It really depends on the person and where they're at in terms of their overall health goals. But those would be my lowest hanging fruit. And then, of course, I introduce movement and mind-body wellness techniques to help complement um, the holistic lifestyle. But at least nutrition is the starting point and always should be
Yeah.
when we want to make the biggest impact on our overall health. There's no doubt nutrition is the starting point.
Yeah, I've noticed how nutrition has definitely taken a back seat because people really want to cling to the whole, if I run hard enough, I will work
Yeah.
off the calories. And that's just not how it is. And then I've seen people in promoting intermittent fasting, they're like, you can eat whatever you want as long as you eat in this window. And nutrition has just taken a total back seat. Like people don't want to think about how vitamins and minerals actually they do affect your body. You need those to actually function properly, to get rid of the brain fog and change your body composition. But people really like to just focus on, if I run long enough on the treadmill, I can eat as many Oreos as I want.
Right. Yeah,
And
you can't
that's,
out the saying you can't outrun a bad diet for sure. And it's a really good point that you're making. And ultimately, the body, our cells, our brain, our liver, our kidney, our heart, our gut microbiome, it really doesn't know anything about a calorie.
yeah.
What it knows is the nourishment that it's receiving, and that's what it benefits from. And that's the big, just to really cut to the chase in terms of calories in, calories out. That's the main difference between calories in and calories out. It pays little attention to the quality of the nourishment that
Mhm.
you are receiving. And as you said, many people feel as though just doing more of the calories out in terms of exercising is the solution and is the answer. And we know that those are two of the most diametrically opposing processes that you can expose a human or any organism to. You deprive an organism of nutrition and you increase its expenditure of energy. That is the easiest way to make it extinct. And so, yeah, why would we ever think that that would work for humans is a little bit silly. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we need to revisit all of this. Well, not even revisit it. We need to be on a
Evolve.
crusade to
Yeah.
change.
Beyond Crusade. Oh, I'm all about that. Okay, so you have conducted quite a few studies. Um, and I remember hearing in one of your interviews that you originally had some skepticism with the studies that you were conducting because usually the average weight loss is what, a pound a week? And here in your studies, you were finding that it was possible to lose in a healthy way much more than that. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all through graduate school, in fact, in most nutrition classes, I teach nutrition at the college level, graduate level. The textbooks and many of the organizations still hold that it's only safe to lose a half to 1 pound a week in terms of your weight loss. And we know through really good science that that's not true at all. In fact, we know that those that have the greatest long-term success in keeping lost weight off are the ones
Mhm.
that have lost the most, the quickest, doing it the right way. And so
Oh.
those that lose weight the fastest, doing it the correct way, not the extreme calories in, calories out way, like
Mhm.
the Biggest Loser, those people have the greatest long-term success. But there's the catch. You have to make sure that you're losing the weight appropriately. But yeah, what we found in our studies, and with, as you mentioned, the skepticism that I had going in when I first started to test this protein pacing nutritional fasting paradigm, I was really surprised at the amount that these people were losing as quickly as they were, but doing it really, really healthy in terms of the hormones, the blood enzymes, the body composition changes that were occurring. So many other health improvements were occurring. At the same time, they were losing so much weight. And that was what was so reassuring
Mhm.
that, in most cases, when they lose so much weight really quickly, doing it the wrong way, calories in, calories out, it's a lot of their lean body mass, their muscle
Mhm.
mass, their vital organs, water. And we were finding the opposite, that those things were all being preserved. Their water, content level was stable. Their lean body mass in some cases was going up instead of down when they were losing
Yeah.
the weight. So you can lose as much as 40% of your overall weight as your lean body mass when you're doing it the wrong way with calories in, calories out. That alone, so what I just said alone is enough to steer people immediately away from calories in, calories out, knowing that 40% of what you are losing when you're following a calories in, calories out model can be your lean body mass. Why would
Yeah.
anyone want to
Yeah.
even attempt to do it that way? And that's what was happening in the early studies when we were studying this. So that's the big differentiator.
Yeah, I've heard people when I'm talking to people about the protein pacing, one of their concerns is actually like too much loose skin. And I wanted you to touch down on that, but before you do, I wanted to say I've been doing the protein pacing for about 2.5 months now. I'm a mom to six. I have used all of the creams for years, and nothing has really truly helped the skin on my stomach, being pregnant 6 times, gaining 50 pounds 6 times. Nothing has truly helped my skin like doing this protocol. Like I officially do not look like I've had kids. I do not have any of the loose skin on my stomach anymore. And
That's incredible. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. Especially as someone who spent hundreds of dollars on all the fancy skin creams that swear people will swear by. Um, this has been the solution for that. And it's like, oh, vanity, but is kind of a nice symptom of getting healthy. What would you say to people who were concerned about all of the loose skin happening with the weight that they're losing?
Uh, Well, this would be one way to manage that much better, as you just described. So, yeah, I think that is a concern. And the reason why that happens in so many cases is because when you are doing the calories in, calories out, you're losing the muscle mass. And so that loose skin, that collagen, the
Mhm.
support that you need to allow the skin to recoil and re-achieve its tautness. And its proper elasticity
Mhm.
is not there. So that would be one thing, making sure that those amino acids that you're taking in, some collagen support obviously would be extremely healthy as well to help support that response that some people might experience. But again, I think managing your lean body mass is the quickest way to safeguard against that loose skin risk that so many people experience when they lose that weight because you're losing the lean body mass while you're losing the
Mhm.
weight. And so that would, and the second thing, Regina, that I think is really important that we haven't really talked about because nutrition is definitely the number one approach to use here is incorporating the proper types of human movement as you're
Yeah.
going through this. And so I think that is really helpful also to reduce the risk of the loose skin effect. Yeah.
Well, what would you recommend insofar as people losing a lot of weight to minimize the loose skin?
Yes, to make sure that you're protein pacing, you're
Mhm.
nutritional fasting, you're consuming the collagen. I think the collagen is super important. The matrix of the skin has to be supported by those different types of collagen. We know that there's lots of different ones, 30 or so different types of collagen, but I think the majority of those can be found in some of the different foods that are available in terms of bovine, marine, and certainly other forms of collagen. So that would be one, the collagen support, the protein to maintain the lean body mass, and then the forms of human movement. There's really four different types of movement that people want to engage in on a regular basis. Number one, without any question, would be once a week of resistance type strength training. So anything that you are pushing or pulling against a resistance using your whole body as much as possible in functional type of movements would be number one. Number two would be doing some type of high intensity anaerobic type interval exercise. You want to make sure that you're doing that at least once a week because of the benefits that it has on the enzymes within the cells of our body. Because when we expose ourselves to low oxygen availability when we are exercising, doing high intensity, what we call anaerobic type exercise. That's super beneficial for our aerobic system. I know it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy, but when you do anaerobic, no oxygen activities, it actually helps boost your aerobic health. And then number three would be mobility, flexibility, um, type of movements, pliability
Mhm.
movements. So things like yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, other mobility type of movement patterns. And then the fourth would be doing more traditional cardiovascular
Yeah.
aerobic type exercise. So most people, and just to maybe follow back up to our original question that you had about the calories in, calories out. Most people always default that, oh, I got to do more exercise. I got to lose this weight. I'm going to go out and do some cardio. We
Mhm.
are in just an obsessed cardio society, aerobic society. We do way
Definitely.
too much. Walking is wonderful. Doing your 4,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Everyone, thinks they need to get to 10,000 or they haven't achieved that limit. But the research shows very clearly that anything around 4,000 or higher, up to 10,000, because there's a point of no additional benefit, is the sweet spot. So that 4 to
Mhm.
10,000 is great. But that is good to just do on a general, everyday, active movement basis. But the best types of exercise that we need to do to help support our metabolism, help support our healthy skin, are those four types, starting in that order. If you're going to do any type of exercise, first and foremost, get your resistance strengthening,
Mhm.
then do the intervals, then do the stretching, mobility, flexibility, and then do the aerobic cardio. But that should be the fourth exercise that people are doing to help support their health.
That's incredible that you just brought that up because I was sitting here thinking like, oh, I have the opportunity to ask a man who works with Green Berets how I should be working out. Well, awesome. We did touch down on everything I wanted to touch down on and more. I know you're a busy man, and like I said, I'm exceedingly honored that you gave me this opportunity to help make this video to help educate other people. My whole thing is I really want to get the information to others that I desperately needed because I searched for years and years and I needed answers as to why my body was not behaving how I was told by the experts it should. And
Mm.
that's what sent me down this rabbit hole. It's how I found you, it's how I found protein pacing and all of that. So I'm just really trying to make all of this information as accessible to people as possible. And I know you are too. We're kind of on the same mission here.
I always tell people quality over quantity
Mhm.
when it comes to our health. I think we're just in a society of obsessiveness and extremism. We're always taking things as much as possible, but the body's remarkable in its ability to respond in such a favorable, healthy way when we do things paying attention to the quality of what we're nourishing our body with the movement experiences that we're engaged in, the health of our brain always wins the day in place of doing things to an extreme of more. So less is more.
Mhm.
But people like you spreading this message is wonderful, and I'm always here to support whenever I can. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Well, Dr. Arciero's books, The Protein Pacing Diet and The Prize Life, are available on Amazon. I'm advising everybody go get them. And thank you again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.